Welcome back to the Dare to Dream podcast, where we highlight the lessons, learnings, and life changing moments that come from having the courage to follow your dreams. My name is Gregory Russell Benedict, and I'm a coach who helps people get the things that money can't buy.
And my name is Vincent Van Patten, and I am Greg's better half. Just kidding.
Yes.
I'm a writer and media creator, currently following my dreams in Japan and out in the world. Bud, I missed that mug. How you doing?
It is good to see you, and it's great to see that it looks like you're somewhat leaning into the mustache. I'm not quite sure. There's still some beard facial hair going on for those who can't see Vinny's beautiful face, but at least the mustache is predominant. Mustache
Yeah, it looks a
forward.
bit evil. Looks kind of evil. That's what I'm going for. Kind of
Great.
evil season. If you have a mustache, is it a requirement to shave the beard? Is that what I'm picking up in your tone?
Yeah, I think so. You got to really highlight what you got. Show the world that you're proud to have a mustache and all the great power and responsibility that comes with it.
True. Well, I'm not doing that. Call this a pseudo stash. But, buddy, buddy,
Oh
today we
boy.
I wouldn't go that far, but today we got an interesting talk. I want to highlight a one of my favorite speeches and just this quote from C.S. Lewis. Um, so this is kind of a crazy time. Los Angeles, the city where I'm from, my hometown, has been on fire for the last week. Much of my hometown Malibu is burned down, and the town next over, the Palisades, is completely gone, and it's just been this incomprehensible, devastating situation. And that's one end of the spectrum. On the other end, I've been doing some awesome things here in Tokyo. I self-published my second book, When the Sky Opens and the Answers Shimmer, on Amazon.
Show us the book. Show
Want to see
us the
it?
book. And we want to see
Uh,
it.
all right, hold on a sec.
We want to see it. And I will brag a little bit about you while you get this book because I know you're too modest to do so, but this is your second book
Look.
and you've written two books before the age of 30, which is
Hopefully, Greg is
honestly
entertaining you in the meantime here.
fantastic.
He's actually a stand-up comedian in a past life. All right, we're back.
There we go. I was just bragging about you a little bit.
Oh, thank you. Here we are, baby.
Wow.
Here she
Look at that.
blows. Yeah, quite proud of it. I think it's better than the first, Eras of Youth. It's a beautiful cover. It's pretty awesome. It documents my journey 2.5 years ago in Europe, where I worked at a hostel in Lisbon, Portugal, and then on a farm in Calabria, Italy. And that was right before I came to Japan. So I had that. It was 3 months, spring and summer, and it's just a quirky tale of adventure. Um, as my writing tends to include, it's me mulling over big life themes of love and friendship and success and meaning while embarking and just having this pretty epic experience. And so I had that, and then I came to Japan, and a month later, and started writing the book. And it's been 2.5 years, and I'm getting it out right as I'm leaving. So it's been this experience of being here and writing it, and it's quite surreal getting it done. So very excited about that. And then kind of the second creative milestone, I published my first magazine, and that's an idea I've been knocking around for a few years, I'd say, but actually taking it seriously. When I was back in LA in October, September, yeah, I think I want to have a magazine. That sounds like the place where I'm gonna put not just the writing but photography and just bring together my love of beauty in a physical thing, of colors and fonts and white space and photography and words, and bring it all together creatively. And I've been working on it for the past few months, but I didn't think. Well, I didn't really have a reason to finish it because I was like, okay, I'm going to finish the book first, and then I could have been sitting on the magazine for the next few months, having it 85% done and just not feeling the push to get across the finish line. But about a week and a half ago, my girlfriend is here, Coco, in Japan with me for the past for the last couple of months that I'm here, and she has her own brand and kind of business that she's starting of making handmade crocheted goods. These specifically these hoods that are quite awesome, very stylish and beautiful, and made of like alpaca and nice quality wool and stuff. And she's been working on that here. And then I heard about a zine fest. This idea of like participating in a zine fest, which is zines are pretty much small magazines, and they could be on anything and a little bit easier to like self-publish them and create them yourselves. And I was like, yeah, it would be awesome to do like a zine fest in Japan. That'd be a cool way to finish off this whole experience. But I'm like, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Like I don't want to put pressure on myself to have to do all this at once. But I might as well look it up. And look it up, Zine Fest, and it's like Zine Fest Tokyo in a week, January 11th. My God, damn it. Wow. That sounds awesome. And I was facing the resistance. I'm like, I could do it, but like the thing's not even done. I don't know how I'm going to print it. Just making excuses.
Yep.
Coco's like, no, we got to do it. Like, I thought this is the dream. Like, you got to do it. I'm like, fuck it. All right. Signed up while I was still like unfinished, and I didn't know exactly how it was going to get done, but by putting myself on the hook, I was like, I know I'm going to figure out a way. So a great lesson is just even when you don't know how it's going to get done, when you don't have the answer yet, by putting yourself on the hook, by saying, I'm going to do this thing, or by making it public, or by signing up for something, it just puts an extra fire under you to figure it out. And instead of fiddling around with trying to make it perfect and just experimenting more and more, I was just like, I got a week. I got to get done like in the next couple of days. So then I could start figuring out how to print it. And it made me cut it down a bit. It made me kind of just make decisions quickly. And it turned into this beautiful magazine that ended up going to Kinko's, like found, Kinko's here in Tokyo, and just like had this cool experience of wandering around Shinjuku, just admiring the lights and appreciating just being here for the past, like, for my last month, and just really sinking into it and being on this little journey of like going to Kinko's and having to translate with the guy, um, trying to tell him like what I wanted and stuff. And just like this little adventure of figuring out how to get this thing done in Tokyo to finish off my time in Japan. And we did it. The Zine Fest was so cool. It was epic to just be surrounded by people doing creative things, and just there was like 500 different booths, just a wide range of interests and colors, and people selling a bunch of different stuff. Like Coco sold her hoods, and she made like hats too. Beside my book, I had Arrows of Youth, my first book, and the magazine Citoyen du Monde, Citizens of the World. And it was just so cool to be in that environment and to be around excited people and just people slaying and stuff. Like I bought, I was trying to support these dudes from San Francisco, had this epic magazine of like the Nigerian mafia in Tokyo and like how they compare with the Yakuza and stuff. And it was just like cool people doing cool stuff. And I felt like I belonged there. And I sold two magazines, gave away a
Let's
book
go.
to my homie, gave away a bunch of Dare to Dream stickers. It was just a very cool experience.
It sounds like the best experience. And I love what you're sharing about this story, and that sometimes you have to say yes to something before you know how it's going to work out. And it's saying yes that acts as the catalyst to push you across the finish line. I'm sure that saying yes to that made you figure out how to get the zine printed, where to go, all of those little annoying steps that so often remain in the fog and the unknown. If you just say
Mhm.
yes and have a date and a deadline, it's getting done one way or another. So big kudos to you and to Coco for saying, no, this is what you're talking about. This is who you want to be. Time to put your money where your mouth is. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah, man. It was, and like the decision that I made, it ended up being so cool because I feel like I had to not try to make it perfect. Like
Hmm.
I was just in the Kinkos. I'm like, let's just go with it. Like go with this paper, go with this qual. And it ended up being like this beautiful recycled paper with like speckled with color like paper mache. And there'll be just these. I only printed 5 because it was pretty expensive, but I'm like, this will be. I don't even care if I sell it. Like, I want this just to look back on like my first edition, first volume that I printed at a Kinko's in Tokyo. Because hopefully, I want this to be my life of a big magazine one day of other contributors and like, you know, documenting just cultures around the world and having different perspectives and stuff. But like to have the first edition, I'm like, I'll spend money on this. We're sinking money in this podcast. You gotta put the money into the dream, and hopefully it pays off someday. But at least we're having a good time doing it.
Having so much fun, making so many millions of dollars.
It's pouring in.
And I'm going to need one of those first edition zines. I hope you know.
Yeah, I got 3 left. Um,
I'm not
Thatcher and
getting one.
Morgan both get one. I think I'm gonna hold on to one. So you could come over and you could touch it. You could maybe look at it in certain lighting,
It's
but I don't know
perfect.
if you're gonna have one. It has the Burning Man story in it. That's why I want Morgan and Thatch to have it. And then it's like the theme is dust, desert, and space. But I'm joking. Maybe you could have mine. But
I don't
I'm
even want
like
it anymore. It's fine. I'll be in volume like 7. It's okay.
volume 18. Greg gets a honorable mention for good sportsmanship.
Yes. For sticking
Um,
around all this time.
yeah. But yeah, anyways, it's great. And yeah, put yourself on the hook. I like that concept. It's so much like you think you need more time. You think things have to be perfect before you just start the thing. They really don't. Like there's flaws in this. The formatting on the back is a little askew. Some of the colors are a little bit off, but like that's what makes it cool. That's what makes it handmade and human made and beautiful. Like we love those imperfections. And I think that's the way that the world is moving, in a way. It's like back to analog and back to human made stuff and quality. And that's why people are loving Coco's hoods because each one is unique. Each one is made by her. And when you have like people are willing to pay top dollar when it's something meaningful that people put labor into, and it's more than just the thing. It's the memory of it. It's like where you got it. It's memories that it evokes in you. It's colors and a lot that goes into handmade beautiful things. And to tie it into the bigger theme of what I want to talk about today, creating the thing is what I think we're here to do. Like creativity gives our lives meaning. Um, that process helped me get through those. The it's still helping me get through the sadness and the darkness of the fires and stuff. And like, I didn't lose my house. I didn't. My family's safe and everything. So many countless people have lost everything. So it's easy for me to say, but the people in Gaza and countless examples throughout history of people creating the most meaningful and beautiful works of art in the darkest times. Like the creativity is what gives us light, no matter how dark the world seems. And I felt it endlessly in this journey of healing my back and just feeling pain in my body. Writing and poetry and stuff is what literally got me through it. And um, so I've like been kind of conflicted of like, do I share this stuff about what I'm creating, and like this is like the worst timing to be doing this cool stuff because like the world is in such pain and like hurting. But then you're like, no, maybe this is exactly what we need right now is a slice of hope and a glimmer of light in what seems like a dark time.
Totally. No one's going to see that you published your book or made your magazine and say, God damn it, Vinny, how can you possibly be excited about something you created at a time like this? I think that there's space for both. There's space for the grieving and the holding of space, and then there's space for the celebration of this two huge personal milestones for you. So I think you should share it. You should get it out there. People need some hope.
Yeah, I am. I'm planning on posting about the Zine Fest today, and then the next month going to be rolling out the book situation. But yeah, man, it's an interesting one, and this the C.S. Lewis speech is it kind of hits it perfectly. This concept of there is no there is no perfect time to do your creativity, to pursue your passions, to explore the arts and pursue what lights you up inside. There's never going to be a time when things are perfect in the world. And it's like, okay, now that we're safe, now that we're secure, now that everything's okay, we can do this kind of superfluous activity of like writing or writing poetry or doing photography or just exploring the things that excite us. It's like, no, you have to do these things in spite of whatever is happening in the world because these are the things that make the world brighter. That despite what's happening in the larger picture of the elections and just how conflicted we are with politics and just the wars and everything, it's like when you remove yourself from the noise that is not going to get any better, it's not going to stop, and just focus on the only thing that you can control, which is, when it comes down to it, your creativity and what you expend, then your life becomes so much more meaningful instead of focusing on and basing whatever you do on just what happens in the outside world. And fires are different. It's not like that is just sheer kind of destruction, and it's incomprehensible and people are hurting from it. And of course, like there is grieving, and my therapist said like treat this like you're grieving an actual death, because you are, like, it's the death of your memories and like your hometown and stuff. And there isn't a way just to understand it and be like, oh yeah, this makes sense. It's gonna hit me at it's gonna hit all of us at certain points of sadness, and to let those emotions come and to allow yourself to feel them and not try to fight those and push them away and say like, I can't feel this stuff. Allow it, but then also got to find a way to carry on as well.
Yeah. And it's interesting because this is perfectly aligned with the episode that we just released today, where I interviewed Julie Trainer, and she talks about the hidden gifts in loss and the hidden gifts in grief. And she has a formula for grief of how to move through it. And the acronym is GRIEF, grief. And she says that grief releases if emotions flow. So it's actually through
Mm.
letting those emotions flow through you and to really feel them that you can ride the waves of grief, as she says. And there's two things I want to bring up before we move too far from what we were talking about. One, I love this idea about people cherishing the imperfect. It's almost like the Japanese concept of wabi sabi and
Hmm.
kintsugi. It's like both of those things celebrate the imperfect. They highlight where a piece of pottery was broken and it's put back together with gold in the middle to really show, okay, this was once broken and now it's back and it's stronger. And I'm
Hmm.
wondering if with AI becoming more and more prolific, when essays, books, videos, clothing eventually, like all of this stuff can be created perfectly and so uniform. I think it'd be really cool to see a shift back to the imperfect, to the human, to the flawed. And that's a really interesting idea. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. And then I'll share the second thing.
Yeah, I definitely. Um, well, I hope and I agree, because as a writer, I'm like, yeah, I have to believe that people don't want AI written books. I definitely don't. Like, I'm on the side of I want human made stuff, and I I'm not a I'm not a big technical person per se. Like, I love physical books, even though I just got a Kindle and it's pretty awesome. I love physical books. I like human connection. I like getting out in the world and talking to people in public, and not, the apps and stuff.
Not
I'm
me. I
getting in the
love the
dating
apps.
world, but
I love robot connection.
I thrive on robot connection. Yeah, man. I think the more we go into the world of AI and stuff, the more important human made things will be. Like, I don't want AI made clothes. I don't even know what that's gonna look like. Like, it's gonna turn into Brave New World, where we're all just sexless robots, and like just getting our happiness from a pill, instead of, it's the thing. It's, dude, I mean, it's hard to again, easy for me to say, but it is like the incomprehensible fickleness and just darkness in life that makes the light shine brighter. It makes it worth living. And that's the point of Brave New World. Like the at the end, the character he's I think the main character goes to this like um this Native American what do you call like a
Reservation.
reservation, but it's in the future. But it's like he goes to America in this reservation, like Arizona or something, and he sees that people are sick and people there's old age and like all this stuff that there isn't in like this manufactured perfect world. And the main character realizes like that is what I want. I don't want the perfect life where you could live to be infinite and like it's like I want the pain, I want suffering, I want disease, and because that's what makes life worth living. And I've actually been thinking about that as do you know that guy who's really kind of freaky? He's trying to live forever, as they say.
Brian
What's his
Johnson.
name?
Yeah.
Brian Johnson.
One
And
of them.
like
There's
I just
two Brian Johnsons. One is super dope. He's the CEO of a company called Heroic, and he wrote a book called Arate. Other Brian
hmm.
Johnson, trying to live forever, seems like a bit of a weirdo.
I just saw the Netflix it's like a new movie on Netflix documentary about him. I just saw the preview and it's just like wait it goes through his day. It's like I wake up, I put on a hat for like hair loss, I take 50 pills, I work out for an hour, I then have like appointments all day, just like checking blood levels and stuff. Like that sounds miserable. The point of being alive, the point of death is that it makes life worth living. Like I want to die someday because what is the point? And that's the classic concept of like the gods and stuff. But like, what is the point if we lived forever? It doesn't make the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to die one day, and we want to live while we can and to seize life by the balls and do the thing while we're alive. And kind of going off on tangents here, but somehow all related. Like I was just thinking last night, it was Wednesday, and me and Coco had ice cream. And I was, we don't normally do that on a Wednesday. Like the
Sure.
audacity, sheer audacity to have ice cream on a weekday. And I'm like, we're going to die one day. That is a crazy concept. And the fact that I am proud of myself for having ice cream on a weekday, or that I'm not in perfect shape, or that I made one mistake, or I slept in, it's like, we're going to die one day. We're not going to be here anymore. What is the point if we're not enjoying our time on Earth? And that's one side of the coin there. Of course, you want to enjoy your time on Earth. And like part of that enjoyment is looking good and feeling good and stuff. And not having ice cream every day makes it more valuable when you have it. So I get the concept. I was mulling this over on the walk home as we were eating the ice cream. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna die, and you got to enjoy life while you can. It really nothing matters as much as we think. But then also there's this balance of feeling good and making life worth living, and that's exercise and stuff.
Those are
Just gonna
some
throw all
big
that
ice
paint
cream
on the wall.
thoughts.
Yeah, it was pretty. It got deep.
So while we're on the topic of ice cream, buddy, I got to get
Mm.
you on the Ninja Creamy. Mika got
Oh
it for
boy,
me for Christmas, and you make your own ice cream. And you can make your
hand
own ice
cranker.
cream out of literally anything. I made ice cream the other night out of bananas, peanut butter, a little bit of water, and protein powder. So it's literally like having a protein shake, but it's perfect ice cream consistency and it's delicious. So when you finally come back and visit me in like
Wow,
2029, 2035, you can have some.
wow. What about like a printer and some chocolate sprinkles?
Yes, you could do that.
Sounds great. That sounds
So
cool. I thought it was gonna be a new branch of like healthy ice cream, like
it's better than all those. Better than
oh
Halo Top, all the other nonsense ones that I've seen you have.
yeah.
Much better.
I mean, I kind of we'll see what happens when I get back to the States, but been really embracing, been having Baskin Robbins and stuff here. It's just really trying to appreciate life in Japan.
It's good.
this last month. It's quite surreal.
It's good you
But
are doing that because most people get to the end of their life, and that's the number one regret of the dying is I wish I would have eaten more ice cream on Wednesday nights.
dude, like probably is. Seriously. Like why the hell not? Should I get into the speech? Should I just because it's pretty powerful, just this one passage.
I want to say one more
So
thing before you get into the
please.
speech, and it's going back to yeah. Please,
45
please
minute
don't share the speech.
speech from 1940.
Dear God, not the
Yeah.
speech again. Going back to you
Gotta do
making
the
the
speech.
zine. Two things.
Sorry.
One, there's only one moment in history in the life of Vinny where you publish your second book, and there's only one moment where you publish your first zine. So regardless of what's going on in the world, you got to share it. You got to celebrate it.
Yeah.
So get that out there. That is my unsolicited advice. The second thing is you said it wasn't perfect. Something was askew, the colors were slightly off, and that is exactly how it needed to go. You need to
Hmm.
have version 1 and version 6 and version 19 in order to get to version 99, which when someone sees version 99, they're going to be like, holy shit, this is perfect. I can't believe someone made this. And so that's such a part of the process. And it makes me think about what's going on in my life. I said yes to something to teach this training for a friend's community before I had any idea of what I was going to do. And because I said yes to it, I started brainstorming. I came up with a 3 step framework. That 3 step framework has led me to host my own workshops. It's led me to create a group coaching program that I'm launching next week. Like each thing you create is never going to be perfect, but it's the stepping stone to the next thing. And it's all necessary. So I just love it. I love it that you faced the resistance, you got it done. You need version 1 to get to version 100.
100%, buddy. Yeah, I love that. It sounds like you're doing epic things, and we talked about how it's not always easy. It's not always fun. Like in the process, I when I was making this thing, I was definitely like just the formatting and stuff. Like it, my brain hurts from trying to figure all this stuff out, like the little numbers. And then of course, I worked on it for like an hour, and then it's completely the numbers are all off. The file is in the computer. Um,
It always is.
and like you had like your, things were just kind of putting out fires here and there. Um, we're trying to get the workshop going and stuff. Like it's not going to be roses and dandies, as they say, as you're doing this stuff. Like just because it's what you enjoy and what you love. Like there's definitely growing pains. There's difficulties and challenges, but that I was just listening to Robert Greene yesterday, one of our favorite people, writer Robert Greene. He was saying like, um, what was it? Talking about the process. I'll come back to it. Sorry, the thought fled away like a bird. But while you're doing it, um, that oh yeah, that's what it was. He said if you sit with an idea, like we sit with an idea in a modern day for like an hour, and then we're distracted by our phone or something else. But if you actually sit with something that you want to do for 10 days, for 4 or 5 hours a day, you're gonna go somewhere. You're gonna bore into this piece of wood with the nail of your mind, and you're gonna figure it out. Like if you truly sit there and just like work on something, that's exactly what happened. I had a week to finish this magazine, and I was just sitting there like just work on it, trying to figure things out. And you can create magic in such a short amount of time if you. That's why I love writing books, and specifically, and it made me think like when I'm when I have like a house and a place, and I'm staying at permanently, and I'm like building that sort of thing. It sounds lovely to just like not even because I put my phone on airplane mode at night. It's not even take it off airplane mode until like noon, where I'm done with the writing. I'm done with my morning like workout and stuff. Because the world floods in and just it distracts you so easily to just focus on like the important stuff before you let the world in. Um, that sounded nice, but
What's stopping you from doing that right now, tomorrow?
yeah, I thought sometimes I do. Um, But when I go to the gym, I like music. I need the internet for, and I usually check. Yeah, I mean, I check just my friends' texts from the night since they are back in the States. But yeah, that's definitely something I'm playing with
It's doable.
because I
I like this idea of waiting until midday to let the world in. Fun fact, random fun fact is that Winston Churchill believed a man and a wife, or you and your spouse, should not see each other until noon. Get up, have your morning, get your stuff done, and then meet up for lunch. And I'm not saying that I support or believe in this, but I just think it was funny and I wanted to share that.
that is interesting, and that is kind of. I mean, we definitely see each other. We're me and my girlfriend are in this very small apartment here, and but we get up and like we both just kind of mull about in the morning and like do our thing, and we get the engine going, And it's like I feel like it's practice for wherever we go, and like hopefully have bigger spaces as my life progresses because tiny Tokyo apartment, we're literally just like on top of each other here, but the place hasn't burned down yet. We're doing well. Another thing I was going to say about just that topic of like working on something and having the challenges along the way, and is that the process, and like from going to volume 1 to volume 99 and how it gets incrementally better, that process of improving something and seeing something come from like an idea to something physical and to see it grow is like the most fulfilling, satisfying feeling, like to actually see the thing go from when I had the idea when I was back in the States 4 months ago, driving driving on PCH, and I'm just like, yeah, I think I want to have a magazine. And I can like see that moment so clearly, to working on it, and then to actually get to the point where when I first held it in Kinko's, like I put the faith in this dude. I kind of told him what I wanted, like the size and the trim and stuff, and I'm just like, God, I'm hoping for the best. And I get there, and he gives me the bag, and he didn't speak English, so I'm using Google Translate and stuff. I pull it out of the bag, and I'm just like, oh my God, it's awesome. And like I was just like in disbelief about how cool it was, and he was just like, he was laughing, and I was like, woo! And Kinko's all fired up to to like to have that moment, and just to have like the two bookends of that, creating the first magazine experience, and even with the flaws and everything, like to see your idea come to life is so cool, and to know that you had to go through challenges and little missteps and stuff along the way. That's why it's so important to not wait until you have something totally fleshed out before you just start, before you know that's going to be perfect, before you just start throwing clay on the wheel and just see what the hell happens.
And that is happiness. I heard someone say the definition of happiness is progress you make along the path toward your goal. It's not hitting the goal, it's not setting the goal, it's literally the progress that you make along the path. And
Mm,
if I reflect on my life, that's the happiest I've been. I'm always way happier when I'm progressing toward a goal, not when I hit the goal. Then it's cool
mm.
for 2, 3 minutes, you celebrate, and then suddenly you set a new goal, and then you're back in this space of not being there yet. So the more we can realize, like going back to what you said about creativity, like the more we can realize that the creative process of being alive and making things and trying to figure out who you want to become and slowly making steps toward that, that is happiness. That is meaning. That is fulfillment.
Wonder who said that. Probably a very smart man or woman. I know who. But yeah, man, it's it is that is what that is what's all about. And like that is why I feel like I can take some pressure off myself, and why life just feels easier when when it's like, I like to use the analogy of, you have the North Star. Mine is I want to be completely making money and like off of writing and just doing this stuff, doing what I'm doing now, but making money from it, and like being able to sustain my life from doing what I love. That is the dream, and that is what I I know I'll get to one day. But I can take the pressure off myself because I'm like, yeah, that is the dream. That is my North Star. But I don't know how the path is going to unfurl. I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there. But as long as I keep my eyes on that prize, as long as I keep the North Star in the sky, then I can be open to whatever happens on the journey as I just continue walking in that direction. And one of my favorite guys, the Dry Creek Wrangler on YouTube, is this old cowboy who is just very wise and awesome. He says, "You got to have a dream. What is like, you got to have a dream in this life. Dream big. You know, it's what we always propound. Have a dream and just realize that's going to take a long time. Like he's in his 50s and it seems like he's just getting to the place where he's living his dream. It was his dream to, for him and his wife to have a horse wrangling school and to have their own land and stuff. And they're just getting there, and he's blowing up on YouTube because people are thirsty for this wisdom and this knowledge that he has. But he's like, people ask, you know, what if I get to the end of my life and I pursue this dream and I never get there? Um, is it a better idea to pull off and to to pull off from the road to do what's safe if you know that like you're going to be secure and stuff? And he's like, no, it doesn't matter if you get there. Die on the road. Die on the road.
Die on the
Fucking
road,
die
baby.
on the road. It's so good. Like die on the road towards walking to your North Star. That is a meaningful life.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was most afraid of when I quit my first job in internal audit, quit my second job in finance. Everyone has this fear. Let me not project. I had this fear that everyone told me I should have, that I was going to spend my whole life bebopping around from thing to thing, constantly trying to find my purpose, my passion, what lights me up. And if I would have listened to that, if I would have listened to what other people were telling me, I might have settled. And it only took me 3 tries. Like to get what I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life on 3 times is crazy. I got super lucky. It might take 300 tries, but I would rather have spent my whole life constantly searching than settling. I think that there are those who search and who seek and who constantly want to learn, and those who settle. And I did
Mm-hmm.
not care what my life looked like as long as I never settled. And I think that's such an important piece. Going back to happiness being the progress you make on the journey, I get hit up all the time by people on LinkedIn and Google to transform me into an overnight success and get me all these clients and all this stuff. And it's hilarious responding to them because I actually don't want that. Like I am super content with the pace at which my life and my business and this podcast is growing. If we were to get millions of subscribers, millions more, of course, overnight, like we probably couldn't handle that right now at this point in our lives. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting to realize that all these things people are trying to sell us about the quick fix, the overnight success, like that is actually how you make the mistake and fall into the trap of being successful on paper, getting the thing you thought you wanted, and then feeling super empty because you missed out on the joy of becoming and the joy of the journey, the joy of
Mm-hmm.
not dying on the road.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Like one of my favorite quotes or just like lessons um, was from back in real estate. I was working in real estate. This guy, Tom Ferry, and he's like he got great advice when he was young, and he wanted to be successful, and just was asking his mentor like how to make it, you know, how to be an overnight success. And he's like, you don't want to be an overnight success. You're not ready for success. Become the type of person who can like handle the success. Become the type of person who deserves that kind of success in the future. That is the process that you're on. That is the journey. Is becoming the type of person who can even grow into that success that we are bound for it whenever the time is right, you know, on this journey. And I don't think I really wrapped up that point that I was saying, like why I feel less pressure and like just kind of take the pressure off myself because and I because I realize that it's gonna take time and I need to have patience. Like this is not There's no roadmap, and I would, yeah, like I'm not ready for that stage of life anyway. Like this is where we're meant to be. It's pretty crazy. Just hearing like I was listening to this podcast yesterday, and this one dude was like talking about he's like in his 40s, and he's like, like to be young again and to be limber and to be able to do like jujitsu and then the other guy's like, well, imagine being like 90. You're gonna be like, God, I wish I was young and I wish I was in my 40s again and I was limber and I could do anything. It's like each stage of life is exactly where we're meant to be, and to think that we're still in our 20s and like what you were saying before, I don't know exactly how you said it, but that was brilliant. The thing about I'd rather spend my whole life searching rather than settling. Like people are so afraid to quit the safe thing because they think they're gonna be just searching endlessly. It's like I don't know what my passion is. I think it's more exciting. It's more of an adventure to spend your life searching and being a seeker and having those experiences than settling with what you know isn't right for you.
100%. And there's one thing I wanted to say, and it is eluding me. It also flew away, so I will come back to it.
Hmm.
What was that? Is it time for the speech? Oh
It
God.
might be the big speech, the king's speech. Well, here we go. So, C.S. Lewis, most famous for the Chronicles of Narnia, what have you. He was also like a big theologian and big Christian, and I think we both read Mere Christianity. Anyways, this speech, it's a great speech. He gave it in 1939. So the war, World War II, just broke out, and he's talking at Oxford, and he's talking to all these students who, they're planning to have lives as historians and writers and creative artistic lives, but this war just broke out. And he's like mulling over this question of like, why pursue the arts when you don't even know if you're going to be alive in a year? Or why pursue this thing that's like extra, this merely cultural thing, when you won't even know if you'll be able to see the work through if you're like a historian or something or a researcher. And so he says, human life has always lived on the edge of a precipice. Human culture has always had to exist under the shadow of something infinitely more important than itself. If men had postponed the search for knowledge and beauty until they were secure, the search would never have begun. We are mistaken when we compare war with normal life. Life has never been normal. Even those periods which we think most tranquil, like the 19th century, turn out on closer inspection to be full of crisis, alarms, difficulties, and emergencies. Plausible reasons have never been lacking for putting off all merely cultural activities until some imminent danger has been averted or some crying injustice put right. But humanity long ago chose to neglect those plausible reasons. They wanted knowledge and beauty now and would not wait for the suitable moment that never comes. Periclean Athens leaves us not only the Parthenon, but the funeral oration. The insects have chosen a different line. They have sought first the material welfare and security of the hive, and presumably they have their reward. Men are different. They propound mathematical theorems in beleaguered cities, conduct metaphysical arguments in condemned cells, make jokes on scaffold, discuss the last new poem while advancing to the walls of Quebec, and comb their hair at Thermopylae. This is not panache, it is our nature.
So good.
Yeah. So he's just saying, like, it's not, it's our human nature to pursue the arts, to pursue creativity despite whatever's happening in the world. And I have just this vision of that last paragraph. He's just describing these things like men go into the advancing on the walls of Quebec during a war and they're just like talking about a poem, or dudes are just like combing their hair at like Thermopylae, which is like the 300 Greek soldiers who fought the Persians, and it's like, they're about to die yet they're still combing their hair because still just dudes, we care about how we look. Or they're making jokes when they're on the face of a building, hundreds of feet in the air, and even locked in a cell where you know you're going to die, they're still doing mathematical equations and talking about metaphysical arguments. It's just like, this is who we are. This is what we do. And, the poetry coming out of Gaza and stuff as well. And it's like, even in when life seems so dark, sometimes all you have is creativity. So it's our duty to continue it because that is what makes life worth living.
And I think that's even more of an argument for you sharing about your book, you sharing about your zine, celebrating the creative accomplishments despite what's going on in the world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I gave it a little time. Like I just wanted to give it room. But now's the time, I think. So I'm gonna do it.
Right?
It's tastefully done. But yeah,
Tastefully
man.
done. I remembered what I wanted to say, which was, dude, when you were sharing that advice you got from that man in real estate, I vividly remember you sharing that advice on like episode 2 or episode 3. So it is
Yeah.
so cool that we are literally about to break 200 episodes and you share that again because that is such powerful advice. Become the type of person that's worthy of success. Become the partner that deserves an amazing relationship. Become this human that is capable of your dream life. And that's so interesting that we pulled that out of the vault, out of the archives,
Yeah.
because that is exactly what I'm talking about with my new coaching program. And that we are often very far away from our dream life, from the best version of ourselves. And coaching, by its very nature, is to close the gap between who you are today and who you want to become. And it needs to be an iterative process. Like, again, going back to we need version 1, we need version 15. If you try and just step into that dream life right now, you probably aren't the person who can handle all of it. So it's this becoming, and that's what makes me so excited. I think character and creativity and the pursuit of something higher than ourselves is really the goal and why we're here. Because where you arrive is not as important as what kind of person you are when you arrive there. To steal some
Mm,
lines from Seneca.
yeah, for sure. And the joy, I mean, I keep hitting on the same point here, but the joy comes from each step that you take along the way. It's, yeah, like you're just simply not ready for being that type of person yet. But it is, and that's what I want to say was being proud of yourself every step along the way and not comparing yourself to somebody who's 50 steps ahead. And this is what you talk about with your messy mentor, who's just a couple steps ahead. And you see, wow, I could get to that point. And then they're not, they're not somebody who's done it and is 65 years old and looking back in their life. They're somebody who's still in the heat of the fire. Sorry to keep using fire metaphors today, but
How dare you? How
but
dare you?
they're still in the heat of the battle and they're going through it too. But you're just like, yeah, I could do that. I could do that. And you keep taking steps. And before you know it, you're where you never imagined you could be. That's how it goes.
And things are going to break along the way. That's what I was alluding to with the workshop stuff. I have a workshop this weekend. I'm actively marketing it, inviting people to it. People are signing up, and then I'm starting to get texts that are like, hey, when I bought it, I'm getting a 404 error. And what's going on?
I
And
love
that's just,
those.
it's just one of those moments that if you are going after your dream, you're going to have moments of failure and it's going to be public. Like you
Hmm.
have to build things in front of other people. And a lot of times it's not going to work out perfectly. And one of the biggest lessons there is that everything can be fixed. Everything can be fixed. And the air quotes failure or that moment where everything explodes is never as bad as you think it is. Like you will get through it.
For sure. Tell my therapist, if I'm alive, things are going to be fine. And if I'm not, it doesn't matter anyway. We're going to
It's
make
deep.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Sounds
think
like
that was might have been Montaigne, Michel de Montaigne. He's, or, I don't know, one of those philosophers. He's like, maybe Descartes. He's pretty much exactly that. If you're alive, don't worry about it. And if you're dead, doesn't matter anyway. Something like that.
it's great.
Well, bud,
I'm good
land
on
this
my end
plane.
if you're good on your end. Anything else you wanted to bring in?
No, I don't think so. That was a fun one. A lot of
That
juicy
was, dude.
content there.
I miss
Ripping and
you. I
roaring.
miss this, just catching up. So I'm glad that we got to bring it to the millions of fans who are tuning in with us today. I appreciate all
Yes.
of you, and I appreciate you, Mr. Vincent Van Patten. Love you,
Mm,
buddy.
appreciate you, man. Freaking love you. If this is us just catching up, man, imagine what us having a deep talk is like.
You don't want to know.
You don't want to. You aren't ready for this. But yeah, we'll put my book in the show notes. Go order that bad boy. It's a beauty, I think. It's what we need in these trying times. It's a connection back to the human, to just good old raw adventure, to seeking what lights you up inside, and to finding meaning in your own life and in the world at large. So check it out, and we freaking love you guys. Thank you for being a part of this journey.